Good morning and welcome to part 4, which will be the final part of this disassembly of my FT-240 Super Gemini engine. Now, what I've got on the table here is a whole bunch of little tools here, and I want to talk, if you'll indulge me for about 3 to 5 minutes or so, talk about a little bit of a sticking point that I'm having with some of these things. So, those of you that have had one of these engines before, and those of you that haven't are going to find out now that on this rear cover you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 screws that hold it in place. Well, 2 of these screws have a small, they're through hole and they're fastened by a small nut. And I'll see if I can get that up there so you can see that small nut. There's one on either side here. I'm not so sure I can explain why that is, but it is what it is. Now, this engine in its original state from the manufacturer comes with a set of tools, but it doesn't come with a little tool to get on that wrench or to get on that nut. And I've had this issue for years. So what I've got out here is a whole bunch of little ignition wrenches or small combination wrenches. Now these 2 sets here are the latest ones I just bought, and I'm going to show you how I think. I only paid maybe $16 or $17 each for these, but they suck. And I'm going to show you why I think they suck. And I've got some of those right here. These right here are actually an old, I don't know if they're complete or not, an old set of what's called Craftsman. They're Craftsman tools, Craftsman ignition wrenches. But these are SAE, and I'm sure that everything on this is metric. So what I've got here first is a 5.5 wrench. Let me bring this way up here so you can kind of see this wrench. And the things that I think that I don't care for about this wrench are, let me get a semi-equivalent one here, is if you look at the box end portion, you can see how on the Craftsman one it's much thinner and probably much more precise. They're both 12 point, but this one is really thick. And sometimes that makes getting into a tight spot because of the thickness very difficult, whereas in these you can get into a tight spot a lot better. But so I'm sitting here, I'm trying to find a wrench that fits this particular nut. Now I'm going to come way up here. Maybe I'll zoom in here real quick so you can see the fitment here. Now I'm on this. Is my camera focusing? Okay, so this is a 5.5. See the play there? It's not fitting it tightly. Here's the same equivalent 5.5 in the 12 point, which fits on there theoretically. But see the play? I mean, will this loosen it? Yeah, maybe, but I mean, there's just a lot of play there. So that's kind of our frustration. So I grabbed a 5. And obviously the 5 isn't going to fit here at all. And the reason I'm doing this is because I was trying to figure out, well, is it really standard, or is it metric, or is it standard? Well, it's metric. But I've also got my set of Boca calipers here, and I'm going to do a quick measurement. So let's turn them on. Let's zero them for, I can probably zoom out a bit here. Zero it for metric, and I'm going to see if I can get on the flats here of this nut and kind of lock it down here the best I can. Now what this is reading is that hex on that nut is reading about 4.45, 4.46, not 5.45, not 5.5. So what is that size? Is that too small? I mean, I don't know why you would have nuts that are not, I don't know if I want to use the word a standard size. See, I'm trying to get on this one here too, but the flats aren't really lining up. So this one, I don't think I'm really getting on the flats here. That one's looking like it's more, but I don't think that it really is. Let me see if this 5.5 feels any different on this one. Maybe this was the one I started with to begin with. No, there's still, this is the amount of play I get in there. So that's just kind of ridiculous. You know, I've got a good set, of course they're SAE, and I've got, you know, a different set of metric rims, but they're not even right. So what I think I'm going to end up doing maybe for this particular, I think I use the 5 on a lot of OS carburetors, and I think it fits pretty well, so I hate to go and try and file that a little bit just for these. But so I just wanted to say that you've got these 2 little through hole screws and nuts, and good luck finding the right, exactly the right box end, open end, wrench opening to really get on there, because I don't think you can put a nut driver on there if you had one, because you've got the cam openings here, push rod openings here interfering with it, and you're certainly not going to get a adjustable jaw wrench on it. So that's the frustration with this. So I'm going to pause the video here for a couple of seconds, clean this table up, and I'm going to go ahead and start removing this rear cover and the portions here, and then we'll be ready for the Boca bearing removal and installation video. Okay, so after my little cleanup session here, a little mini rant, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with those screws. So I'm going to use this is just 2.5 millimeter hex head on these on the one end, and I guess I'll just use it. And so they're not super tight either, that's the other thing. And you really just have to hold it momentarily. So I don't really know why I was going on and on about that, but it's just one of those things where you have a little set of tools, and then you have wrench or the tools, but then they don't really seem to fit well. And the last thing you want is play in these things, because that leads to rounding off things. And these are very important little fasteners, and you don't want to be screwing them up like that. Now granted, like I said, it's not like they have a ton of torque on them, but still, I mean, that's not the point. Alright, so the rest of this is just very easy removal. The most challenging part of this operation by far is going to be getting the cover off, because there could be some surface tension there. Now there's not a gasket on this cover, but there will be considerable amount of surface tension holding it in place, in addition to the fact that it's pretty tight fitting around that cam bearing. So this is the cam, there's a bearing here, I believe, for the camshaft, and I don't know if I got that bearing. You know, shoot, I don't know if I actually got a replacement bearing for that or not. That may be one that doesn't get replaced, because I don't think I've got one. I don't recall looking for one on the Boca's website. But anyway, so that will be one of the areas that kind of holds this thing in place. And I'll have to show you what I'm going to use to do that. Because of the fact that I'm not removing this mount, it's not really affecting too much, because even with the mount off, you've got these big bosses here. You're not going to be able to get really much of an edge here that I don't already have. And I can get on the edges here if necessary to kind of free it up. So I'm just kind of getting all these out here, and then we'll just go through these real quick here. We'll see if they're all the same length. I'm not sure if they are or not. It's pretty easy to figure out though once you go to put them back in. Now I know these two here with the nuts on them are different lengths. They're longer. Alright, so this nipple, this vent is on here, but you don't really want to be cranking on that thing. So as I said, this isn't just want to come off, so I'm going to see if I can't use this wood dowel to kind of motivate this thing to want to come off here. because otherwise I'm not sure how to motivate this thing off. Because like I said, you don't really want, okay, so there we go. We got it. It's loosening up. Hear that? Now what I might be able to do is, if I have a razor blade, stick a razor blade in here and kind of do one of these things with it. Just kind of gently get in here and so I'm just barely putting any kind of pressure on that vent because I don't want to break that thing off. So it's coming off here. I need to see if I got another blade. One in at each end. And this is purely surface tension. That's, and like I said, that bearing and cam lobe or camshaft interface is just kind of. Now, would this go faster if I heat it up? Maybe. But I can also just edit some of this out. I don't think I've got anything else that I can stick in there that I want to stick in there. These little razor blades are nice and thin and soft. I don't want to put anything in there that's going to damage the surface here. Now I'm using the ridge of the blade, which makes this a lot more dangerous. Okay, there we go. It's wanting to come off. These two blades are going to be completely useless when I'm done with them. My buddy Harvey would probably be able to tell me if there's a better way to do this than what I'm doing. I know that this has always been one of those things. It's always been an issue with these back plates on these twin cylinder engines, whether it's this or the Sato ones too, because of the tight fitment. And the fact that I think Sato ones actually have paper gaskets, but OS ones do not. Okay, so I think I'm just going to turn the video off here and come back when I've got this thing ready to come off, because I'm sure this is getting quite boring at this point. Okay, so I'm back here. So I finally figured out what it was that was holding this thing in place, and it turned out to be this silly engine mount. And here I'm sitting here looking at that thing thinking, well, it's no way it's holding that in place. But it was. It's just holding it in place just enough to not allow that thing to come off. So it's off. There we go. That's the bearing that I was blaming for being the thing that was holding it on, and it turned out that this thing where these pins are, it was just protruding just enough to interfere with that. So here's what, and I'm still gonna, I could take this off I guess, but or at least rotate it down like that, because I want to leave this on when I go to tap these things out, because I really do believe that that's going to be the only way that I'm going to be able to get those out. I truly believe that. So let's just take that all the way off. So here we go. And so this big wheel here is the timing shaft, and it should just come right out. So I'm probably going to clean this area up a little bit, put screws in place in bins before I pull that timing shaft out. And once we do that, but the thing is, this thing is so easy to time. And I can't recall, I think it's like a top dead center like it is now. See how the journals here are at the top? So you go top dead center, and then there's an alignment hole. This hole right here has to be down just like that. So you can see that the engine is perfectly timed right now. And I don't know if there's a mark or anything under there that you can see also. I think they just basically say, oh, here it is. That's interesting. It looks like it mistimed a bit, unless that's just the way it is. Because so there's a mark on here. There is a mark on this crankshaft right here. Boy, I don't know if my lighting is. There's a mark on that on the crankshaft here. And that dot is supposed to line up right with it. And it looks like it's actually mistimed. If you can believe that. I've never been inside this engine before. So I'm going to try and see if I can take a picture of this. Let's make sure that this is it. See, it's not at top dead center there. This is top dead center right here with that alignment mark up. Maybe you can see this. I don't know. Maybe this light is too sharp. But see, this hole should be lined up right on. That hole is in a gap, and the timing mark is on a tooth. So yeah, oddly enough, this time, and this is something that Harvey can help me out with, is that this is either advanced or retarded by one tooth. Because with this timing mark on this thing up, I just don't know. I can't tell by looking at my viewfinder if you can actually see this or not. There's a timing mark here. This is at top dead center, and this hole, timing hole, is off this way by a tooth. Is that something that OS did intentionally? Is there a reason for that? I don't know. All I can say is what I'm looking at is it doesn't look like it's properly timed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these parts away here real quick, and then we'll work on pulling that timing or camshaft out. Okay, I'm zoomed in a bit more here. I was having some difficulty getting this camshaft out, but the reason is because I have to get these cam followers out first. So they were pretty gummy in there, and as you can see, I've got one out now, and that one is from the left side, so I'm going to keep that one there. But the issue with this is I have to go in from this side with a flashlight in my mouth again and find that cam follower deep inside there and push it out manually because they're so deep that my magnet can't draw it out. So I have to, this thing is rather hot because I've been heating it up hoping I could just loosen them up and they just fall out, but that's not the case. So what I have to do here is hold this flashlight in my mouth yet again, rotate the shaft so that I can see the bottom of that tappet and then push it out. So that's what I'm going to do here. That one's really stubborn. There we go. I don't want to break the tip of my awl here, but I needed something that's long enough for me to be able to get in there. Maybe I can use one of my drivers here. It's out. It's just not enough for me to. Okay, so there we go. Let me drop these on the right side here. So his tappets were gummy. And now this camshaft should just come right out. That's the theory. Now it might still have a little bit of binding action there, but it should just come right out. Okay, so finally I've got this thing, so it's coming out. Wow, I had it moving. As you can see, I've got it pulled out quite a bit here. I'm going to see if I can use this popsicle stick. Okay, there we go. There's our timing shaft, finally out. And yeah, I did have to apply quite a bit of heat to that. So let me just wipe this thing down real quick and let you see what this camshaft looks like. Pretty gummy. There's our camshaft. So just a single lobe for each cylinder. Now looking at it, I'm not sure if those followers were actually holding this in place or not. I just wiped it. It's really sticky, so this is going to have to be cleaned up really well. But so there you go. Now this thing is really warm still. It's in a state of being able to shoot my Boca bearing removal and extraction video. Like I said, I'm gonna have to go and look on their website because I just don't see, I didn't see a listing for this bearing. Now, does this bearing need to be replaced? No. Do any of these bearings really need to be replaced? No. Am I going to be concerned about if I don't replace this bearing? No. Will the Boca bearing video suffer because I don't remove this bearing? No. Because quite honestly, the only ways that without having the proper tool to get in there and extract it, like a Bill's cam bearing tool, which is obviously way too small for this, there's really no good way to get this out other than you heat this up a whole lot, and put a nice thick glove on your hand, and then just keep smacking this thing down and onto a soft but very firm surface, like a piece of really hard piece of wood, or that Delrin plate that Bill made for me. Because the thought is, if you oil it up and you heat it, that sudden shock and stop will now allow the inertia to help start moving that out of there. Now I gotta quit doing that with these because I don't want to lose these pins that are in here, and in fact I want to just push them back in here. That one's a little tight, so I'll have to tap that in. But anyway, so I know this has been probably a really long video, maybe really edited, heavily edited, but there you go.